The brown M&M has, quote, transitioned from high stilettos to lower block heels. Also less sexy. That's progress. M&Ms will not be satisfied until every last cartoon character is deeply unappealing and totally androgynous. Until the moment you wouldn't want to have a drink with any one of them. That's the goal. When you're totally turned off, we've achieved equity. They've won.
So I'm just going to keep it short today. Hi squad, welcome back, and dog, bless you. Somewhere between having other larger projects on the go and a pimple the size of Jupiter hidden only by my makeup skills, I had actually been sort of veering away from making a video this week. Also recovering from some kind of stomach thing, so if I look exhausted and kind of like blech, it's because I am. But here we are, because apparently conservatives have moved on from being angry about whether or not a brand of artificial potato is gendered and have instead moved on to the fuckability of candy. Because, I don't know about you, but if I can't get betwixt my chocolate-covered caramel cookies in the biblical sense, then what is even the point? I mean, there are people who spread their Nutella, and then there are people who spread their Nutella. You know what I mean? Now, what I'm saying is, I like a little Butterfinger before the fun dip as much as the next person, but there is a sour patch in all of this discourse. Because as much as I want to dedicate this time to having a snicker about Tucker Carlson's BDSM M&Ms fetish, and maybe discuss the fact that our green gal here is canonically trans, that's not really the point of today's video, or the whole M&M rebranding thing at all. If you ever see conservatives going off about something completely and utterly asinine, it should raise some red flags, because in all likelihood, it's a distraction tactic from something far more important. Just as a reminder, they are either the fat cats themselves or at the very least, corporate pawns. So as tempting as it is to mock them for their ridiculous positions, we serve ourselves and our communities a lot better when we catch what's actually going on. I'm not saying you can't take your dunks, especially when they are far too sweet to resist. But if you catch conservative talking heads doing something completely and utterly foolish, get the mockery out of your system, and then ask, what are they trying to hide? I've seen some people give the very valid take that this whole M&M's rebranding thing by Mars is just a ploy to boost sales and get a whole bunch of free publicity, and I think that there might be something to that. That's an entirely fair take. Goes back to what many of us have discussed before about how lucrative cancel culture can be when you already have power and resources. Far more likely, though, is that the free publicity is just a nice bonus in Mars's effort to direct our attention away from their continued use of child slavery and exploitation of workers in the cocoa supply chain. I don't actually have any tinfoil, so we're just gonna have to imagine me wearing a tinfoil hat for this next bit. So let's be clear. I have zero tangible evidence to suggest that the Fox News outrage pundits are consciously involved in this distraction tactic, but the sincerity with which they approach indignation over a change in cartoon candy mascot footwear is pretty fucking sus. Like, I know these people are next level with their delicate sensibilities and where they place their emotional investment, but are we really going to tell ourselves that this is a genuine display? Or is it maybe possible that they are doing what they can to add momentum to the convenient distraction card as it rolls far, far away from human rights violations? After all, we know that Fox News provides a pretty important service. They're basically culture wars for hire. Need people not to focus on the fact that the child slavery you promised to abolish 20 years ago has actually gotten worse? Well, lucky for you, because we've spent the past few years fabricating fake gender ideology as a fear-based control tactic. We are more than happy to apply our methodology with the purpose of stirring up rage in our brainwashed followers, while also ensuring that anyone with a fraction of sense will have some bonus moral justification in buying your product. Because that is what we do here at Fox News. Like I said, whether this is intentional on part of Carlson and company isn't something that I really can know. I don't have the reach or resources for that. This is pure speculation on my part. But regardless of whether or not these people know what they're doing, it's working. I mean, I almost went out and bought M&Ms specifically because of how mad conservatives are about them. Eating chocolate to flex my disdain for old Tucker? It's a beautiful idea, but if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. No one cares so much about playing hot or not with cartoon candy mascots to the point that they would be willing to humiliate themselves on national television on that basis alone. It's always more nefarious than that. Do not let Mars off the hook. They are not our friends, and they do not care at all about representation or even a fresh start for the M&M brand. This is just another example of how culture wars, specifically trans people, are being instrumentalized for corporate and political benefit. Another example of how outrage towards completely made-up problems is pulling our attention away from things that should actually piss us off, like literal child slavery. Feed people the idea that they're morally righteous over something completely meaningless, and you can convince them that they've actually taken a stand when really nothing has been accomplished. Bonus points if you get to line your pockets in doing so. But that's it for me on this. I was going to unpack this in more detail, but Thought Slime already made a really fantastic video on the case and everything going on here, so please go watch that if you haven't already. I will hopefully see you next week with something a little less whatever this was. But, as always, thanks for watching.